What's up everyone, welcome back to Tabletop Forge. Today we're making a Coliseum, a gladiatorial arena. This piece has been 3D printed and our first job is to get it cleaned up and ready for some paint. Let's do it. One of the guys in our gaming group printed this out on his Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro. It's an FDM printer, which is typically better for printing larger terrain pieces. I actually have a resin printer. I can print things in high quality, but typically smaller things like miniatures. I've been putting it off for a little bit, but I think it's about time that I get one of these for myself. This model is from Loot Studios, which is a subscription-based service where each month they give you a package of a bunch of miniatures and terrain and other cool things that you can 3D print. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I am a pretty big fan. I use a lot of their miniatures and a lot of their terrain pieces in a lot of my builds. Once I have some sections glued together, I want to patch these little cracks with some spackling. There are a lot of different ways to fill gaps in models. You can use different types of clay, you can use different types of epoxies, you can use like resin, UV resin, you can also use just baking soda and super glue. I prefer to use spackling simply because it's cheap, it's easy to use, and you can clean it up with water. The 3D print actually failed in a couple of places, mainly on the legs of these statues here. I don't have footage of it, but I patched it with some clay and some other stuff. Here's a short little detour on how I did it. First I'm going to use some wire. I like to fold it over and twist it up, and I'm going to use that to connect the two parts with some hot glue. Next I'm going to take some tin foil, I'm going to put some hot glue on this wire, and I'm going to wrap the tin foil around the wire to create a little bit of bulk. And lastly, I'm just going to use a little bit of air dry clay. This is terracotta colored, which is a terrible color that stains everything it touches, but it doesn't matter, it's going to be painted anyways. I just wrap it around the tin foil, I use a little bit of water, some sculpting tools to kind of blend in the missing pieces. The moral of the story is sometimes 3D prints don't turn out perfectly. Instead of throwing it away and reprinting the whole thing, sometimes you can easily patch the piece, and after you add in some paint and stuff, you never even notice. Alright, we have glued some pieces, we have filled some gaps, we threw down some black spray paint primer. Now it's time to add some color. Starting off nice and simple with a gray. We're not trying to get full coverage here. I want to leave behind some of the black so that there's a shadow, some kind of deep recesses, add some variety and some age to the piece. Next up is some coffee. I like this color because it's not too tan. It's got a little bit of a kind of earth warm tone to it. It's gonna take the stonework and make it look natural and awesome. In our D&D campaign, we take orders from the Man in White. He's an enigmatic figure that works for the crime lords. We owe them a lot of money, so when he says, hey, go to this Coliseum and investigate, we do it. We don't ask questions. We're in a lot of debt. If you're interested in hearing about our D&D sessions, you can actually listen to the whole thing on Spotify under Black Flagon Fantasy. Check it out. Once all the stone and bricks are done, it's time to fill in all the details. We've got some wooden railings, some banners, some flames, all kinds of little pieces where we can add some color and some flair and really make this piece start to pop. Before I deal with the flame on these braziers, I want to go in and add a little bit of gray to this wood to give it sort of an ash look. For the flame, I always have to remind myself that you do things sort of backwards. You put the lightest color on first, and then you work your way towards the darker red. Here I have some yellow, I dry brush some orange, and finally I'll go through and dry brush some red to finish it off. For these big epic gates, I started by covering it with a coat of Leadbelcher, and then after that I threw on a little bit of Nuln Oil to give it some shadow, and then finally I'm going to go on top of it with some Ryza Rust and rust it up. I often skip the step of attaching doors with pins. Typically the doors are small and it's hard to do, but this time a pin was easily 3D printed, fits right in, and once you get it done you have these nice working doors, so I figured I'd go for it. This is sort of the last step, so I think it's about time for some glamour shots. Prepare yourself for the arena. Alright. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're entertained, and I'll catch you next time on Tabletop Forge.